Welcome back to the Chova podcast with Nick and Jay. We have a few articles to go through with you, and this section is UK news.
The truth. Boris Johnson says there is a good chance social distancing can be scrapped next month. Basically, we have an update coming on May 17th anyway with the reducing of the lockdown procedures, but it's something that's definitely going to affect my life dramatically because like a lot of you guys, I work in an office, and because of the social distancing measures, my office is quite small. So I've been working from home over the last year. So being able to work back in the office and kind of get some sense of normal social life going is something really crucial to my life. What about you, Joe?
Just a bit of hope, really, isn't it? We don't actually know for sure that it's all going to end in June, but it's nice to see a bit of potential light at the end of the tunnel that we might be moving out of this, really.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, it feels so alienating still because you walk past people in the street and I'm still 6 foot away, but if we're both turning a corner or crossing a road, it's kind of like there's this imaginary bamboo pole between us, and I feel like it's like poking me in the ribs, and I'm getting stared at daggers if I like breathe in the general direction of somebody I'm walking past. In general public open space, like as if I'm some monster, which I'm not. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on social distancing. I understand it works, and I understand the reasons and the masks and everything, and I'm not against them. It just makes me irate.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have found, even from the latest kind of relaxing, that there's basically gained all this anxiety because they've been locked in for so long. So it's going to be a big change for a lot of people and a shock, I think, especially when the next kind of step down comes.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I have developed like I've not been a stranger to anxiety in my life, but because of the lockdown, I personally have developed like this like rebound anxiety where I feel like I need to have a few drinks down me to enjoy socializing. Like I went out yesterday into Oxford and I was like, okay, I need to be buzzed. And, you know, it's just not worth like it just done a number on a lot of people's mental health. It's not good.
Yeah, what was it like going out anyway? Was it busy or?
Yeah, we queued. So I have a mate I haven't seen for ages. We went out and basically we went to the Westgate rooftop bar in Oxford, and there's a place called the Alchemist. And in the Alchemist, they only do walk-ins, but there was a queue, probably about 20 people long, mainly two per table each. So about a group of 10 groups of two, roughly. Yeah, it was really. We were waiting for about half an hour to get a drink, and then got
It's
ripped
not
off
too bad.
extortionate drinks.
Yeah.
What about on your end? Have you done much socialising?
Only in the local pub, really. So we have to book beforehand, and all the tables are outside. It's been quite busy, really. I mean, on the weekends, it's fully booked. Like it's 50, 60 people out in the gardens. Good atmosphere again.
Do you think that pub culture is going to suffer, especially when pubs have become open on the inside as well as the outside, with the social distancing measures are still in place? Like, how do you think that's going to? Because I know there's the 2 meter rule and the 1 meter rule. What do you think of the repercussions of that long term?
I mean, I think it's going to be. I don't know about long term, but as soon as people are allowed, or they relax it a bit more, I mean, people are going to go crazy. People are going to go out. That first weekend where everything's open again. It's just going to be kind of packed out everywhere, really, because people are desperate to get out.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like it's a double-edged sword because there's the public health part of it, but there's also the long live the local thing. And like local pubs have been struggling for a lot longer than the pandemic has been happening in the UK, especially. I mean, the tax on beverages in general is so high in the UK currently.
Yeah, I think a lot of pubs have closed and they won't be opening again. They're just done. It's been too much for them.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I mean, not to veer too far off topic, but I genuinely think that we're coming up to the final nail in the coffin for a lot of pubs that aren't closed already if we don't retract the social distancing rules soon. I understand the concern, especially in the article where Boris Johnson doesn't want to see an influx of diseases being spread. I get that. We don't want another wave, but there's people's livelihoods, there's people's like work at stake. It's a lot more than just the COVID situation.
Yeah, and mental health as well, like we said already. The next article we have for you is from the Express. It's actually one you selected, isn't it? A teenage murderer back behind bars months after life sentence was cut.
Yeah, so this is, to me, an interesting article for a couple of reasons. One is the headline's a little bit misleading. She was a murderer as a teenager. So she had a whole trial and everything. And this back in 2007, she was 15 years old, and she went out on a vodka and cocaine bender and decided to, went into a manic state, it seems, and stabbed a girl called Samantha, I believe her name is. She was a new mum, 18-year-old, called Samantha Madgin in 2007, and left the new mum, the baby, without the mum. She had a life sentence of 15 years, and it got cut to 11. She had like a day where, like a release day. I don't know what it's called. Do you know? Sorry, what do you call it when somebody has like a day out of prison to see family and stuff?
So day release.
Day release. Yeah, so she had a day release thing, but she broke her conditions of day release, and then she's gone back into prison.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I think in general, sentencing in the UK is far too lax. I mean, there was back from last year, a motorcyclist, someone threw an egg at a motorcyclist, hit him in the eye, and blinded him. And he was recently sentenced, the guy who did it, and it was like a year driving ban and a £500 fine. And this motorcyclist is maimed for life. He's now got disability. He's got one eye. I mean, I just think we need stronger sentences in general.
Something strikes me odd about this article when I was reading it. I'll see if I can find the direct quote. The mother said, Jordan Jobson said, "We're not allowed to find out what she's done, but I just hope that nobody has been hurt." So not even the mother knows what the breach in her day release thing was, and that seems peculiar to me. But I agree that sentencing should be stricter, because it does seem like no matter how much people don't like, there's no rehabilitation. We just put people in a box, and it doesn't seem like people are actually learning. There's no re-education. There's no trying to help these people. We're just taking them out of society, which is a big problem. Like, this girl's been in prison since 2007, and she got out on day release and everything, as far as I'm aware. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Yeah, and there's just no learning.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of wrap up from what you were saying there. So it says she'd been eligible for parole in 2018 and was moved to an open prison in preparation for release, but she was returned to high security jail after she threatened an inmate. So I guess in the open prison, there's a lot stricter rules to kind of prove that they've been, rehabilitated or whatever. And yeah, she's obviously broken that rule.
Okay, so there we go. That's me, like, completely. But you get my point, though, where it's like she's put in like this high security prison and it's done nothing for her. She's moved to the lower security prison and she's been set up for failure almost. I'm not saying she's completely without, like, she's definitely in control of her actions, but she hasn't been put in an environment that's set her up for success on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, she has to prove that she's being rehabilitated, and by breaking the rules, she can't follow the rules, and that's obviously a bad sign, really. For that.
Can't agree more. Can't agree more. It's just, I just think that there's a greater systemic issue that's just, and she's just a reflection of it in the system.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of kind of greater problems in society, I think. But yeah, there isn't an easy answer, really, I don't think.
Welcome back to the Chew Over podcast. We are on our technology section. This is Apple faces Epic Games in court, lawsuit of the decade. What's happening, basically, from what I can interpret from the article, is that Apple has got this massive monopoly on their App Store, and they made it. It's their ecosystem. It makes sense. It's kind of like iPods to iTunes. However, iPods were made by Apple, just like iTunes was made by Apple. Epic Games made Fortnite, and they're publishing on their App Store, and they decided to put in their own store transactions, cutting out Apple as the middleman, and they've taken Fortnite off their store. And this sparked a 56-page lawsuit.
Yeah, 65, I think.
65.
I mean, it's kind of described as like a walled garden, and like, Apple has this monopoly. Like, you can't, like, there isn't another app store. There is only Apple's app store. So it's very, they can kind of, I think they're going after them for, anti-competitive laws.
There was a very interesting quote in the article. They refer to it as the Apple tax, which I think that it's huge as well. Isn't it like 30% of all transactions through the App Store go to Apple?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about software, margins normally aren't that big because of the amount of developers you need. So that's probably a huge part of their bottom line. I think Apple brought something in to change it. So if they earn like under $1 million or something, then it's reduced.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many developers can you hire for £1 million a year and the servers to run it? Probably not many.
I would say that unless you're running at a considerable tight budget and you're getting like very, very cheap developers, you're not going to be Epic Games running on that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, this is really interesting as well because it's the first kind of big lawsuit against Apple with this anti-competitive stuff.
It's a long time coming.
Yeah, I mean, it'll set a precedent, really. That's just kind of big news in that scope of it, really.
The thing you've got to think about is, well, one, there's an advert called with hashtag free Fortnite, and it's in the style of a Apple advert from back in the day. So that's pretty cool. But the thing you've got to think about is if this lawsuit goes in Epic Games' favor, and knowing America and knowing how much they value freedom and the business acumen and trading, you can nearly guarantee the massive effects this is going to have on future software app development.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, ideally, this will open Apple up to creating another app store maybe on their platform. That's the only thing I can see, because then obviously they'd be responsible for, apps that are, dodgy or malware and stuff. Because if it goes through Apple's app store, obviously they're kind of liable for that a bit more, yeah. I think.
Well, you say that, for as long as there's been Android, there's been a rooted Android, and there's been the rooted App Store, like the rooted Play Store. It's not a new concept, but Apple have got this like vice grip on their ecosystem, and it literally is anti-third-party developer. You either develop for Apple or you get out, and it's been that way since I studied software in 2012 onwards. It's not been, Apple have always been developer unfriendly in my eyes.
I think in the early days it was actually quite good for developers, but yeah, in recent times, probably the last like 20 years, it's not been very developer friendly or open.
iPhones have, I think last time I checked, this was a couple of years ago, 20% market share for all smartphones. So 1 in 5 smartphones are an iPhone. And assuming they're all in date and current and they can run the current apps, the issue is if you don't develop for iPhone, you're missing a huge chunk of the market, because not every Android user is going to download your app. Not every Android user is going to run the same spec. Whereas every Apple phone has to meet a minimum standard and has to. So I'm kind of spouting the obvious here, but if you don't develop for Apple, then you are completely like taken aback. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you're just cutting out a huge part of the market, really. I think the price of Apple phones is the only reason why they have such a small market share. Over the last I don't know, 5 or so years, phones in India have just exploded. Loads of people in India have phones now with, the internet covers more area. And then, people just using it to connect to each other. And yeah, that's the only reason why Apple don't have a bigger market share. I think it's places where, you can get an Android phone for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, Android, some companies have deliberately developed like ridiculously low cost, like Android phones. Like you've seen those third world laptops as well. The ones that are developed specifically. I know it's a horrible name to call it, but they are like third world laptops for the impoverished to use like Facebook. And Facebook Lite is specifically developed for phones with low spec. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of going off subject really, but for that kind of thing, you're looking at a Chromebook. Chromebook will do any of your internet tasks pretty well. And you can pick them up cheaply pretty anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to an update on this story, and we'll monitor as it goes, and we'll check in because I think this is really cool.
Right, so we've got an article here from New Atlas. This is early signs of dementia can be detected by tracking driving behaviors. I believe this is an article that you picked out.
Yeah. So what's really cool is that they can take a bunch of data from your onboard system in your car or an app on your phone if you choose to download it, and they can track your journeys. And depending on like metrics like how hard your braking is, how many short journeys you take to and from your home in a given day, there is an 88% chance that this app can detect mild cognitive impairment or MCI or dementia. Early onset, of course.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, I'd like to read more about how they're actually working this out and what kind of sample group they're using. I feel like I'd be surprised if they can judge my kind of cognitive function from the way I drive. Obviously, they've had some success with this, so it's definitely really interesting.
Yeah, well, the research utilized data from novel long-term study called Long Road, the longitudinal research on aging drivers, which tracked nearly 3,000 older drivers for up to 4 years, offering a large longitudinal data set. I mean, I don't personally drive yet. I mean, I'm a learner driver. I have my test in July, and I'm looking forward to going on the road. But how can they differentiate between, like, say, inebriated drivers, like, God forbid, they're driving drunk or driving stoned, and people that are generally actually like they have a condition like what's it called? There's a condition that makes it look like you're drunk. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I mean, or like dementia, like they mentioned in the article. When I've just had a look at that longitudinal research thing, there's a link in it, and it's basically it's on people aged 65 to 79 years. So the data is only based on old people. So I guess they must track changes in how you drive, and that's how they're kind of picking it up.
Yeah, I mean, what's your interpretation of this technology? For it, against it?
I mean, I'm kind of against any tracking, anything that's intrusive, more electronics in your car or on your person. It's definitely good. It's definitely interesting technology, doing these kind of studies. Yeah, just in general, my thing is that you shouldn't really be tracking people. And
what if it didn't track the route, but it just tracked instead when they're tracking distance, like the RPM of the wheels spin or something? Not actually tracking where you're.
I mean, it says it tracks it from your start and end point, so I mean, it must know where you're going.
Yeah, true.
And obviously the duration and the miles and acceleration, deceleration. So it's obviously collecting quite a lot of data from you. I mean, it's nothing on like a Tesla. That's like an extreme amount of data that they're collecting from you when you're driving around. But yeah, I'm just against the kind of collection of data in general. It's just another database that will get leaked somewhere. Suddenly you can't get medical insurance because they think that your driving is bad.
That's a really good point. I didn't think of the implications that the data could have an extension if by leak or sold to a third party. We really are in the data age at the moment, and it's frustrating because all these services are using us as the commodity almost without our consent. Because let's say I use Facebook and I agree that Facebook can use my data, but then Facebook sell it to a marketer because I've agreed to the terms and conditions in the small print, and then the marketer I have no affiliation with sells it on further.
What is the old saying? If a product is free, then you are the product, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you are the thing that they are making money on.
I watched a video, I think it was Philip DeFranco this week, actually. He said that Facebook released the earning per user, and outside of the USA, they make $8 a year off every user. Inside the USA, they make $48 a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a slightly different subject, but I think Facebook really needs to pivot. And that's why they've been buying all these different services, because the actual main Facebook product, I mean, Zoomers aren't using Facebook, so
Yeah.
they've got a limited future with that as a product.
Yeah.
I mean, I signed up when I was young, pretty much when it started out.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I don't really see the point of quitting it because they've already got my data and information now. But I just don't add data to it. And for me, it does have a value because a lot of people I know do use Facebook and only use Facebook. And that's basically the only way I can actually contact them now. So it has a use to me, but I hate that I'm kind of stuck in there now, really.
When you're young and naive, you just don't know. Because going back to what you're just saying, like, we are off topic now, but my youngest brother and youngest sister are like 12 and 13, no, maybe 12 and 14 respectively. They don't use Facebook. They have Instagram, they have TikTok, they have this, they have that, but they don't have Facebook. And I mean, I think my brother has it, but he doesn't use it. So yeah, it's not appealing to the young people. It never really was meant to, though. It was meant to be a university thing when it came out. So welcome back to the Chew Over podcast. We are going to be talking about cryptocurrency, social media, to show you the relationship status, because like you'd never know on a college campus who's dating who. But anyway, I think it does it for this section.
We got here's what from gfinityesports.com or something.
Definitely,
and this is
a reputable source.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very good. This is Mr. Beast's fans believe he has misled them into a refinable crypto scam.
Before we even go into this, I have to say that if you're buying cryptocurrency because an influencer has told you that you should buy this crypto or put it on their Twitter, just don't. Just take that money and throw it out your window.
I mean, if you really want to invest in the cryptocurrency, the only advice I would ever give anyone is read the white paper. Find out what it's really about, because there's so many, cryptocurrency scams and just bad actor kind of coins out there. A white paper will tell you the facts of it, at least.
Or just like, if you just, I'm not even going to name any specific currencies, but if you just Google like top 10 cryptocurrencies by market share, those ones are generally going to perform better than an unknown crypto called Coming. But what happened in the Mr. Beast story, going back, it got released. It's kind of backed by Binance, and they've had some partnership with Mr. Beast, it seems. And he advertised that you should buy this cryptocurrency. Binance kind of glitched, and it wasn't showing the price that you can buy in at. So people thought they were buying at like the launch price. But it looks like loads of it was pre-bought, so the price got driven up exponentially. So a lot of people bought in at $9 on day one. Refinable was planned to launch, that's the name of the currency, Refinable was planned to launch at 33 cents. Hype caused it a launch at 8.35, and then by the end of day, it sank to 2.01.
The exchange that was listing this really messed up.
Binance.
I mean, any of the more recent cryptocurrencies, whatever it is, they always launch and the price will go down. It always happens like this. They get hyped up, and they put them for a price more than what they've proven to be worth yet. Although that might, grow in value over time, it's really common for pretty much all of the new cryptocurrencies to be listed and then they'll drop because, like I say, they haven't proved their worth yet.
This cryptocurrency came out, I mean, with use cases, like people were already planning to accept the currency on their platform, completely out of the realm of possibility to think that if you actually know anything about crypto, you'd know that this is the stupidest thing that's about to come out of my mouth, that it's relatively stable, and it's definitely not. It's an unregulated over-the-counter transaction. Like, these cryptocurrencies have sweet FA regulation. I'm not wrong on this, am I?
No, I mean, they're bringing in regulation over time. I mean, there was a thing recently by HMRC where they're seeking for everyone who will have to put in what cryptocurrency they've got. so they can track earnings on it. Like you say, it's unregulated at the moment, basically.
Because a company could launch a coin, like you could have a developer group go, "This is our new cryptocurrency. We'll call it Chew Over Coin," and then we could launch it and say it's going to launch at 8:35. We get a bunch of hype, and then all the money that goes into that coin effectively could be exit scam because you've put it into something that has no accountability, no tracking. You've bought a cryptocurrency. You don't know where the money's going on the other end, and that money can be just taken by the coin developers. It's not out of the realm of possibility because they're called initial coin offering.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty normal to, like I say, that they kind of crash in the beginning, especially these new ones. And it's all about kind of perceived value. You know, it's only worth what someone will pay for it. Yeah, getting into these exchanges, it normally takes quite a while. They don't just list you up straight away. I think the problem in this case is because he's created all this hype, it's given it clout. So they thought, oh well, we need to list this currency. It's going to be very profitable for them. Probably is what they thought.
I mean,
yeah, it's causing problems.
But there's no laws about pre-mining or anything, is there? There's nothing that's stopping anyone that's got a private access before the currency's public to do like a pre-mine or something, or acquire it before it's reached market. It's unethical, and it would probably constitute insider trading if it was a normal regulated stock. But I don't think it's not traceable. It's a cryptocurrency.
Well, yeah. So, like I say, it should be in the white paper. If stuff's pre-mined, and that generally that information is that'll be found in your white paper. And cryptocurrency is in general very traceable. There's literally a trace of every transaction that it makes on the blockchain. It's just there are some anonymous cryptocurrencies that you can't trace, but obviously that's different for each coin.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is why you should listen to Jay and not me, because I just say things, so it makes sense. But I think that's comprehensive coverage of that story.
Yeah, I mean, the last cryptocurrency topic we have for you is a Reuters article, and this is Ethereum breaks past $3,000.
Everyone's been waiting for a while.
Yeah, I mean, so it's up 325% for the year so far.
Good. It's too good, even.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some technology which has made it very different to other coins, and there are now probably hundreds of copies of its technology. But it's like it's the Bitcoin of that type of technology. It's the first version of this contract-based cryptocurrency. So, like I say, it's like the Bitcoin of those. So that makes it more stable and more well known, I guess.
What's great about Ethereum in general is that it's got this whole developer network that's built on it, hasn't it? There's so you can have decentralized applications, and that's what you were talking about a moment ago. That's the first kind of thing of its generation. It's like a second generation cryptocurrency almost, because Bitcoin came out and it's just so bone standard. It literally is a currency that you can exchange, whereas Ethereum has these apps you can build on top of the network, and it's also got like sub coin tokens. I've noticed, like there's one that I've seen, New Cipher. Have you seen that one?
Oh no.
Okay. Well, yeah, they've got like these sub tokens that are built on the network. There's also there's old school Ethereum as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. Obviously, it's caused a huge problem for the computing sector at the moment. Like, you can't buy a graphics card because it's just been so profitable to mine.
Yeah.
I think soon it's changing to a proof of stake coin from a proof of work coin. So that will kill mining. So it'd be interesting to see kind of where it goes from there. But once they do that, that will allow for a lot of other changes on their network. So I think probably the functionality and efficiency of things will improve a lot, potentially. Depends on how well they implement it. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to this coin in 10 years. I mean, how old is Bitcoin now?
I think it's 9 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's hovering, what, $55,000 or something at the moment? I haven't checked it recently, to be honest.
Yeah, it's doing well. It's up today. I know that much because I checked my portfolio earlier. People are beginning to distrust the banks more and more, and this isn't a uncommon thing. People used to hide money under their bed. Like, people just didn't trust the banks. We've had 3 market crashes since the turn of the turn of the millennium. We've had the housing market crash, we've had the .com crash, and we've had another crash that I can't remember if it ever actually had a name. Well, we've had the current coronavirus kind of crash thing happening. you know, and they've been huge in comparison. If you look at a graph from like 1900 to 2021, like the 20th century Great Depression was a blip in comparison to what we've got going on today. It's like up and down, up and down.
Yeah. I mean, the last big crash was the banks, wasn't it? And then obviously we've got all the stuff now with like COVID relief and bailing out companies and that.
Yeah.
It's basically the same kind of thing again, really. But I mean, most of these cryptocurrencies tend to be tied to the dollar, and you know, the Federal Reserve, or whatever, they print like $1 million a second or something at the moment.
Yeah.
So all this new money they're putting into the system will reduce the value of it over time. I think that's why a lot of people are moving to cryptocurrencies to try and, you know, safeguard their money out of the system a bit.
Because people go like, Dogecoin's uncapped, and it's like, well, it's not uncapped. It has a finite amount it releases every year. The US dollar is uncapped. They can print however much money they want. That's truly terrifying, because your money isn't actually worth. You're buying debt. Whenever you have cash in your hand, it's actually debt. It's national debt. That's all it is. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but I've watched whole videos on this about how money is actually debt, and like, yeah, it's like there's a reason cryptocurrencies are taking off, and there's a reason why it's going to be a new standard. We're already in the data age, and we have to be. We're all okay. No one's in revolt about their data being taken and used for applications. Everyone carries a smartphone in their pocket, which is basically a tracking. So, and the revolution is that we're making a currency that can't be, well, ideally we don't want it to be tracked. We want it to be moved around like cash, but with the ease of using credit or debit cards. So we want DeFi, decentralized finance, and that's what the push is.
I mean, it's like last week they were talking about the Britcoin, where the Bank of England is making its own coin now. I think the US are trialing like 3 or 4 different coins that they want to make. You know, they want this electronic transfer of money, and most of the stuff we buy, I mean, I buy everything on a credit card now, basically, and that is the same thing. It's just, you know, an electronic transfer of money. You know, the use of cash is becoming less common.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, some places during the pandemic they had signs up like, "Please don't use cash" because of all the bacteria and stuff. So I've got into the habit of just having my card, because in the UK, COVID actually provoked the banks to increase the contactless limit, so you could actually pay £45 on contactless instead of 30, which, by the way, really, 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 really slippery slope, because I never know how much I'm paying anymore. It's called HCI in software development. They have this concept. I am veering off topic a bit, but it's called human-computer interface or interaction, where you want to make things as natural as possible. That's why we love swiping to turn a page, and we love tapping to pay, because it is basically putting money in the hand. Yeah, I'm sure you know more about this than me.
Well, it's gamifying it. That's what it is. It's gamifying it. Like, if you look into like Apple and Facebook, they are like the leaders in the psychological research of how you interact with the device and how it affects you. You know, the UI and stuff. They put like billions of money of research into it. So if you look into them, you can find out a lot more about it. But yeah, it is kind of just gamifying the system, kind of getting you addicted to it in a way.
Yeah, no, I mean, in one side it's a really important study, but the other side it feels really manipulative. It feels like sometimes they go, "Oh, why isn't," like, I've watched this documentary on Netflix called The Social Network, The Social Dilemma. The Social Dilemma is fantastic. If you haven't watched it already, check it out. I'll even put a link in the description. I mean, you'll have to pay for Netflix, but it's there. And what happens is they look into just how they can get retention on apps, because it's so important. They have eyes on screen. They want you to endlessly scroll. If you're not on the app for like 20 minutes, they'll send you a notification that somebody's like looked at your profile or something arbitrary that isn't even true, just to provoke you to look at the screen again and get you hooked. Because, you know, there's 2 industries in the world that call their call the base of like the customers, users, like software and drugs, drug users, app users. You know.
Yes, that's it.
Anyway, I think that's a natural stopping point. Unless you got anything to add.
No, not really. Just that everyone has to obviously point out all the times we've gone wrong during this, because as usual, we just read these articles and say things that we may or may not know anything about.
Yeah, basically. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to add prompts in to say like the video, like throughout the whole video. Like it, subscribe, tell us what you know, tell us what you think.
Like smash that like button,
Slap the like button. Yeah. Beat it down. Yeah, wicked. Thank you guys. And see you next week.
Thanks for listening.